Last year, I got a PS5. I know what you're wondering. How do you get a PS5? Well, let me tell you, my friend. But before we continue on with the video, please make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on awesome content. I've been wanting a PS5 ever since it was revealed in June 2020. Unfortunately, pre-orders wouldn't happen until later that year. After another presentation that was in September, Sony announced that pre-orders would start the following day. However, retailers decided to go ahead and launch them right after the presentation. After hearing about this, I went to GameStop's PS5 page, and apparently, there were still some left. But I held off on it because I had other things to worry about and assumed I would still have a chance to get one once I was finished with said things. When I returned to the page, they were sold out. I went to other retailers' websites to see if I could pre-order one, but they too were sold out. I decided that my next step was to go to GameStop the following morning to pre-order it, since they were the only retailer taking pre-orders in person, despite the pandemic going on. The following day, I called them, and they were taking forever to answer the phone. I hung up, called them again sometime later, and they told me they were no longer taking pre-orders. In fact, they still had some left over the night before. Had I gone before they closed and not worried about the stuff I had to do, I possibly could have reserved one. The only other way for me to get one at that point was to buy one on a release date. The problem was, due to the pandemic, Sony would only sell them online. Oh boy, that was a smart move. When the PS5 launched on November 12th, 2020, I was up late in the night, but so far, not a single retailer made them available. Eventually, I tried again later that morning, but to no avail. Not a single retailer had one available. Not even Walmart's method of restocking at different time intervals was enough to get me one. I was actually really close to getting one from them, but as I was ready to process my order, they were sold out, and for some odd reason, I got locked out of my account. At first, I thought the reason why it kept being out of stock was because of the high demand, but it was also because of the scalpers taking advantage of said demand, and the microchip shortage due to the pandemic. Honestly, Sony should have waited until they had more resources before releasing the PS5. This goes for you too, Microsoft, and Nvidia, and other companies affected by the pandemic. Retailers also should have implemented anti-bots features on their websites to mitigate scalpers. I wouldn't try getting one again until Black Friday, when GameStop announced that they were selling actual PS5s in their stores. There was a catch, however. Each store would only have 2 units each. I told my parents I was going to camp out the day before they opened to get a PS5, but they wouldn't let me, which is hypocritical because they forced me into scouting as a kid. They were, however, okay with me leaving at about 3 a.m. to get in line. At 3 in the morning, I went to the GameStop closest to my house, but there were like 10 people camping out. One guy was in his car looking like a cadaver. Then I went to the nearest mall with a GameStop, but unfortunately had to leave because security said we can't be on mall property until 6. Funny thing, there were already 2 cars parked in the nearest parking lot. After about half an hour, other cars started pulling up, and it was a madhouse. When the doors to the mall opened, everyone rushed in. Unfortunately, I couldn't get to the front in time. The manager said, I have 2 PS5s and 6 Xbox Series X's. Knowing I wasn't going to get one, I left to go to the Lego store, so at least the trip wasn't wasted. Anyway, I decided the next time I would be getting a PS5 would be in person, when they were readily available. Of course, I tried again online at various sites, to no avail. At some point, GameStop started selling PS5 bundles at random locations, but they would never announce which locations had them and what the bundles consisted of until the last minute. I used to work at Not Office Depot, and the copy and print shop supervisor always knew when the GameStop next door would have restocks. The thing was, I never asked him when he knew, nor did I bother to ask him to give me any updates. If I recall, it happened at least 3 or 4 times before I got my PS5. The next chance to get one wouldn't be until Best Buy had announced they were selling them at select stores. In fact, all participating stores had 50 plus units each of the disc and digital PS5, and 50 plus units each of the Xbox Series X and S. I was planning to camp outside Best Buy the night before, but just like with GameStop Black Friday, my parents wouldn't let me, so I had no choice but to use the same strategy as last time. Unsurprisingly, that didn't work out either. In fact, when I arrived, there were barely 100 people waiting in line. Because of that, I had no choice but to go back home. On the week of Thanksgiving 2021, I saw a video from Jake Randall saying that there was a rumor that GameStop may be selling PS5 bundles on Thanksgiving Day. Seeing this, I immediately started planning my strategy, even before the rumor was confirmed, which it eventually was. My strategy was to go to GameStop immediately in the morning and wait in line until they opened. But my parents weren't too happy about that. They told me they were okay with me going as long as I went to my cousin's house first for Thanksgiving lunch. I changed my strategy to check the line in GameStop first, then go to my cousin's house, then go back to GameStop. Fast forward to Thanksgiving Day. I woke up all giddy and whatnot, and my parents had been telling me to calm down, but I couldn't. All I was thinking about was getting that PS5. So Newton rolled around, and I went to the GameStop near my house, and there was a long line. I then decided to forget about it and go right to my cousin's place. You would have loved to have seen me all upset when I was driving. Once I got to my cousin's house and mentioned what happened, one of them mentioned that there was a GameStop nearby their house. And I thought to myself, oh yeah, that's right. I completely forgot about the GameStop nearby their house, because at first I thought they closed down a few years ago, but it turns out they moved to a strip mall that was nearby their old location. After lunch, I immediately left to go to the GameStop they mentioned. As I was leaving, I told them, alright, I am going to GameStop to get a PS5. If the line is long, I'll be back in about 20 minutes. If not, I'll see you all next time. And I took off. As I got to GameStop, I saw the long line and thought, aw man, but then I saw on the door that there was a piece of paper with the PS5 on it. I then got out of my car and went right to the door and saw that they had 20 units available, on top of the 22 Series S's that no one cared for, and 14 or so Switches everyone already had. And for those of you who are curious, no, they didn't have the Series X for whatever reason, even though other stores in the area presumably did. I then counted how many people were in line. 1, 2, 3, yes! There was room in line for me to get one. Every now and then, the manager would come out and ask who wanted a PS5. He wrote my name down, and that was when I secured the loot. It was about an hour before the store opened when the line was full, and people were driving by asking if there was room left, but there was none. About 10 minutes before opening, the manager had to disperse those who wanted to get PS5s but couldn't. Others stayed to get other stuff. So I went inside after they let others out for the store limit, got my PS5 bundle, went home, bragged about it on social media, and played Astro's Playroom until the butt crack of dawn. And that was how I got a PS5.